Hi, this is Shen. If you're visiting Beijing for the first time, congratulations. You're about to see one of the 8 wonders of the world, and you can also walking through the ancient Chinese palaces that have stood here for over 600 years. Beijing just has so much to offer for visitors. And in this video, I'd like to share the most common 8 mistakes first-time visitors often make. Mistake number 1, forgetting making reservations. Rest assured, nowadays most sites in Beijing don't require reservations anymore. You can easily get the tickets on site. However, there are 4 exceptions. There are Tiananmen Square, the Great Hall of the People, the Memorial Hall of Chairman Mao, and the National Museum. So if you plan to visit any one of those 4, please make sure you get the reservations in hand in advance. Speaking of the Forbidden City, I also recommend you to get the reservations in advance. But if you can't, rest assured, you can also get the tickets on site if you are a foreign visitor. We previously made a video about this, you could check it out. Mistake number 2, going to the wrong museums. Nowadays, museums are getting more and more popular, and some of them could be just too crowded to visit. And that's the reason why we suggest against visiting the National Museum. For one very simple reason, it's far too crowded. Last year, some of our clients have visited, and they told us they have waited outside for over 2.5 hours for just getting inside the museum. And that's the reason why we suggest visiting the Capital Museum instead. It got 2 new branches, both new, spacious, has a lot of exhibitions and collections, and the most important of all, it doesn't require any sort of reservations. Just bring your passport and you can walk inside directly. We also recommend National Museum of Art Crafts. It's a national museum focusing on the traditional culture and art crafts of China. That one does require reservations, but usually you can get it on the same day you visit. Sometimes it could be booked out, but there is another museum called the CCP Museum next to it. It doesn't require any reservations, and these 2 museums are connected to each other. You know what I mean, right? But for those visitors who have planned to stay in Beijing for many days and they are a huge fan of museums or art crafts all around China, probably you could pay a visit to the National Museum. Just remember, you need to make reservations to the National Museum in advance. Mistake number 3, underestimate the size of Beijing. Beijing is a huge city, despite it doesn't look like so from the map. On the map, all those travel destinations seem to look like very close to each other, but in reality, they are not. It usually takes you around 20 to 30 minutes for you to get between the sites by car. And for some sites like the Summer Palace, it takes around 40 to 50 minutes if not caught up in traffic jam. And for sites like the Great Wall, it takes at least 1.5 hours, depending on which section of the Great Wall you plan to visit. And sometimes, the travelers could be too ambitious with their travel plan. I was once approached by inquiries like, hey, would you like a 1-day tour of the Temple of Heaven, Forbidden City, Summer Palace, the Great Wall, the Tiananmen Square, the Jinshan Park, and Shanghai? I was like, oh, this is a tight schedule. So generally, here's how I recommend to make a plan. In our opinion, the best historical sites of Beijing, they are Temple of Heaven, Summer Palace, Forbidden City, and Great Wall. I personally also call them the Big 4 of Beijing. So this is how I would recommend to make an itinerary. You just choose 1 to 2 out of these 4 and make it 1 day. I think this would work for most travelers to Beijing. So don't be too ambitious with the travel plan. It's a big city with terrible traffic. And that's why I recommend visitors look at places in the navigation apps first while you are making your travel plan. I would recommend Apple Maps specifically for the iPhone users. The A-Map or the Baidu Map are also very good and accurate maps. The Google Map also works kinda. The problem of it is that its data is outdated, like 10 to 15 years old. I'm too old for this. So it works to some extent. Mistake number 4, expecting people to speak English. Despite English is a mandatory class in China nowadays, most Chinese people still can't speak it or can't speak it fluently, especially when it comes to taxi drivers, small shop owners, and restaurants. So that's the reason why we suggest to set up translation apps beforehand and have the Chinese name and the Chinese address of your hotel ready just in case. Besides, most Chinese people are very friendly and they're more than willing to help despite they can't speak English. So I feel like that could help to solve the language obstacles, if you know what I mean. Mistake number 5, choosing the wrong time to visit. I will show you some video clips and you'll understand why. Generally, Beijing is good to visit all year round with 4 seasons distinct to each other, offering different vibes throughout the whole year. However, there are some periods of time in a year that I highly suggest you to avoid. They are the national holidays of China. To be specific, the first week of May, the first week of October, which are also known as Golden Weeks in China, and to most people's surprise, the Chinese New Year holiday. which is like a 5 to 9 day national holiday. Usually in January or February, most people would think that they could get a festive vibe and get a more local experience of Spring Festival. True, to some extent. But the thing is that in recent years, Chinese families are having much higher passion for domestic tourism during Chinese New Year. It's just too crowded. You probably won't like it. There are still some crowds out there when it's not national holiday, as Beijing is one of the most popular tourist destinations, but the attractions are still worth it. There will be more people during July and August when it's summer vacation for schools, but I feel like it's still manageable, unlike the holiday seasons, which are totally next level. Mistake number 6, not using the subway. I'm not saying that you have to use the subway, but for some areas, it's very convenient to use and easy and cheap to get around the city, especially for solo travelers and couple travelers. And it's not that hard to use. For some apps like Alipay, it offers you QR codes to get in and out of the subway station, or you can simply tap to pay by using your credit cards. Mistake number 7, bringing all the cash with you. Not because it's unsafe. On the contrary, Beijing and China are very safe to visit. And what's more, the pickpockets are very rare now, even in very busy tourist sites. I'm not saying that you should be totally off-guarded, but just want to say that rest assured, it's a safe country to visit, even for solo female travelers. The thing is that nowadays, China or Beijing is basically cashless now. Over 90% of the transactions are done by Alipay or WeChat Pay, even for street food vendors. It's not like they will reject cash. It's just like sometimes they may not have the changes to break banknotes. However, I think it's still necessary to bring small amounts of cash with you, just in case. But no need to bring all the travel budget in cash. So what we would recommend is to register your bank cards in Alipay or WeChat Pay in advance. By doing so, you basically will have no payment issue while you are traveling in China. Mistake number 8, underestimating the weather. This is mainly about the winter actually. Beijing winter could be very cold and the temperature difference between the morning and evening could be very large. It's somewhat like -2 to 15 or like 0 to 15, about 15 degrees of differentiation. And it's not only about the coldness, it's actually also about the wind. So definitely bring a windproof jacket or down jacket with you while you plan to visit Beijing in winter. All in all, I hope you could enjoy your future trip to Beijing. And if this video helps, please like or subscribe. It would definitely help me a lot. If you have any unanswered questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. This is Tour Guide Chen. See you. Mistake number 4, expecting people to speak Chinese. Despite English, Chinese.